Today is not only Star Wars Day, but it's also Bird Day, which is very fitting because it's spring and we're hearing those birds. They're out and about. They wake us up in the morning, which is also a beautiful sound. But to help us celebrate and kind of give us tips for Michigan birds is Rachel from the DNR. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, it's a lot of fun to have. I love the DNR. I'm a big fan of the DNR. I grew up with it, so I'm super excited to have you on the show. But first, because before we kind of dig into what is on the table in front of us, let's just talk a little bit about the birds that we see here in Michigan that we're lucky to have. Some of the popular ones. What do we normally see?
Sure. So creating bird habitat and healthy bird populations is a priority for Michigan, especially during this time of year. It's the spring migratory season is in full swing. And so right now we'll be seeing some of those iconic spring species. So red-winged blackbirds, which are so beautiful, and they look exactly as described. They're black with red wings, and they have this beautiful trill call that we'll hear just about anywhere where there's a standing body of water. So you can hear them in the wetlands, but you also can hear them along roadways and wet ditches. And so they're a really common bird to hear in the spring. Of course, there is the vocal sandhill crane. We'll oftentimes hear them before we see them, and we'll think there's a pterodactyl flying overhead. It is in fact just a 3.5-foot tall stocky bird that we have here in Michigan that also arrives this time of year and is really beautiful. And then we also have some of those maybe niche species that we are really excited to see, like turkey vultures.
Ooh.
So turkey vultures are arriving this time of year. We'll see their long black shadows in the sky. And we really should appreciate these turkey vultures because they come to clean up our roadways of dead roadkill. So they're really important species for us to have this spring.
Gotcha. A win-win going on there. Let's kind of go through a little bit about how we can help those birds. So that way, if we do have some bird watchers out there, what they can do in their yards to kind of invite them more or to help out the birds that we love to hear and see.
Certainly. So right now in the spring is the perfect season to do some things that will really benefit birds for the rest of the year. One of the most important things you can do is planting native plants. Things like native flowers as well as native shrubs and trees are super beneficial to birds because, one, they're going to provide all of the food sources that birds need. So they'll provide fruits, seeds, nuts, and nectar, while they'll also attract insects. And so these flowery, showy annuals and perennials that we have are going to attract our native insects, which will then attract native birds. Not only do they provide food sources, but they're also going to provide shelter, which is even more, it's very critical for birds to have shelter as it is food. And so a lot of these shrubs and trees are going to provide either materials for birds to build their nests or build their nests in. A lot of ground nesting birds will need these woodier species, and not only will they need them through the spring and summer, but you can leave these in the ground all year long, and they're going to provide habitat for insects and small mammals throughout the rest of the year. And native vegetation is pretty easy to get your hands on, which is the best part. So all of us have a local conservation district in our county. These are places where they have experts in native plants, and so they can tell you specifically what plants will help what birds, where to plant them, and then they'll be able to get you the plants.
Well, we all have those bird feeders that are in our backyards or front yards we like to watch. Any tips for that? Because, you know, sometimes we want to make sure that we're feeding them the right things or we're cleaning, because there's a lot of, you know, birds that like to hang out on our bird feeders.
Certainly. Yeah, so there's a lot of different types of bird feeders that you can use depending on the kind of bird seed you want to provide and the birds you want to attract. If you are going to use a bird feeder, we do recommend that you are cleaning it frequently.
That's great. So have these plants, shrubs help the birds, and then of course cleaning those bird feeders. And you know, if they have any questions or you know want to chat with anyone from the DNR, what is a good website or phone number that they can do that for?
Certainly. So all the information you'll need about where to go look for birds, things to take while you're birding, things to do for birds can be found on our website at michigan.gov/wildlife.